Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to God Squad, which right now the God Squad is me and Jesus and my children sitting in the background not saying anything. Uh, I did send the link out to a couple people. Not sure. I didn't give them much heads up. I didn't really plan this. This was sort of out of the blue. I just felt like maybe I should do something on Saturdays on top of the stuff I do on the weekdays, because just to keep the momentum going on the channel. And because as Arlene says, God Squad sounds like fun. So until somebody does show up and we kind of squat it up, I did want to go through some of the comments I've gotten over the week from some of the various videos that we posted up here. And let's see. I don't think I need to share. Gosh, it's so small on that screen. I got to do it over here. So this will just be sort of conversational between me and the people who are commenting. And obviously, you can go and read these things in the comments section if you want to go click all the various videos. But I don't get a lot of comments per video. But I thought this would be something interesting. So Just Peel says that emeralds, referring to the golden emeralds, or the emeralds that the is talked about in First Samuel. Is it First Samuel? I think it's First Samuel, when the Ark of the Covenant was taken to the Philistines, and then they were struck with emeralds, and then they made the golden emeralds and all that stuff. If you were watching the show, you know what we're talking about. But he says it probably meant tumors caused by bites from large camel spiders. So they died from large seeping tumors on their secret parts. Frankly, I don't know if I can think of a worse way to die. To it, I responded, how did the large camel spiders get up in their secret parts? And Just Peel responds, God sent them, of course. Well, okay. So in the scripture, there's no actual mention of large camel spiders. And I really do think the hemorrhoids translation of that verse is probably the more accurate one, because hemorrhoids in your secret parts. I don't know what other, you know what the secret parts are, and you know what the emeralds are. So it makes the most sense. So the people who have over the centuries and millennia classified that as hemorrhoids, I think they were the ones that sort of nailed the emeralds on the head, so to speak. Rough way to go, says awful redneck gaming. Indeed. Seven says, if only they were radioactive camel spiders. Living in the world of superheroes. Arlene says, glad you are live on Saturday. Better than the alternatives for sure. Wait, what are the alternatives? What? Arlene also says, well, since everyone knew who was circumcised, I am guessing that underpants weren't. I'm not sure how to deal with that, so I'm going to move on. All right, Jay says, I would suggest that God has a means of dealing with whiners. God used fire, poisonous serpents, disease, and other means to destroy the whiners in the congregation of Israel. The books of Exodus and Leviticus. I don't know why I can't talk right now. I'm clearly, I must have, I wasn't going to say, no. Radioactive tumors in my throat. The books of Exodus and Leviticus show this. Truth. Jesus loves you and died to forgive you of your blasphemy. He have a great. Oh wait. Oh, somebody was responded, and they must have deleted their chat. Oh man. Okay. In response to this, for some reason, says there have been countless people die. This is Randy Orr, on the cross over the centuries. True. There have been people burned slowly to death in fires. Also true. In medieval times, people suffered from the most unimaginable slow torture chamber deaths, including the Brazen Bull. people suffer all kinds of horrific, prolonged illnesses, terrible accidents, including 6-year-old girl eaten alive by piranhas. So, if the claim is that Jesus paid the ultimate price for all the sins of all humanity by dying on the cross, shouldn't his suffering be worse than the millions of people that clearly have suffered way more horrific deaths? So, this guy's argument. Oh, Mike, you did ask how the spiders could get in those. Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. This guy's argument comes from a perspective that Jesus was just a man, and therefore one man's sins should be paid for with one man's death. And if a man has really bad sins, then it should be a really bad death, right? Basically. So my response was, it's an interesting argument. I don't suppose I could tell you what he should have suffered more than anyone else in history of the world, as if the suffering he did suffer, being scourged and crucified, wasn't incomprehensibly painful enough. I suppose it's up to God to know how much pain was enough to pay for the sins of the world. I asked, what makes you think it should have been more? And he says, well, since the beginning of time, there have been approximately 117 billion people born. I don't know how he figured that out. The cost of sin for one person is eternal punishment and suffering in hell for eternity. So doing the math, the cost of sin for 117 billion souls would be eternal torture in hell times 117 billion. Christ only spent 6 hours on the cross, then went to heaven. That in no way pays the price of 117 billion sinners. Do you see my point? To wit, I respond. If Christ were just a man and was trying to pay the debt of one man, you might have a point. But Christ is God, the creator of all mankind, and as such, far and incomprehensibly beyond the worth of all that which he has created. The creation is always less than the creator. Thus, his death pays a price far greater than the value of the punishment of all mankind could ever be worthy of. Also, Christ didn't go to heaven after the cross. He went to hell, Sheol, the abode of the dead. He didn't go to heaven until the ascension 40 days after his resurrection. Thanks for asking. Also, coming to join us on the God Squad, the preeminent secondary member of the God Squad, Edwin Boyette. Aloha.
Hey, aloha, Mike. You know, I was just sitting out on my porch reading, as I'm apt to do. As we Southerners do, we sit out on the porch and watch the traffic. And I saw a notification come up on my YouTube, and it said Mike Miller. And I'm thinking, I bet Mike sent me an invite. So sure enough, I walked inside, and there it was.
There it is. Yeah, that's funny. I was sitting out on my porch today, having some quiet time with a cup of iced cold brew coffee. Posted on Facebook because I don't know. Saw it. But then I got ate up by mosquitoes, Edwin.
Did you also post some pictures of your breakfast?
I haven't had any breakfast.
Or
all I've had today is one Slim Jim.
Or maybe with your Squid Grow T-shirt and the caption "feeling cute" or something to that
effect. I didn't. I literally just took a picture of my coffee and my fig tree, which I was sitting there, Edwin Boyette. I was sitting there looking at my fig tree and thinking how I pruned my fig tree this year.
Right.
And I'm getting like no fruit from this tree this year. But the tree is like insane. Like there's so many branches, so many shoots came off of this thing. It is thicker and bushier and more full than I've ever seen it, but almost no fruit came off the tree this year. And I was thinking, there must be a metaphor there somewhere.
Well, you could either cast it into the fire or allow the fig tree to you can allow the fig tree to recover, or we can go to Mark 11. And on the morrow, when they were come from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing the fig tree afar off having leaves, he came, if haply he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet.
But it is, hold on, it is the time of figs, Edwin.
And Jesus answered and said unto it, No man eat fruit of thee hereafter forever. And his disciples heard it. Yeah, you may have pruned it. When did you prune it?
Right before, I think in the spring.
In the spring, you may have pruned it too late. So instead of putting energy into making figs, it put, because when you cut, you create like these growth nodes. And what you're telling the fig plant to do is to make new branches. And so it may have...
You went overboard.
Yes.
Freaking shoots everywhere. Just branches.
Right.
It's like a bush on top of a stump.
So if we are to know Mr. Miller by his fruit, well,
not enough figs. I've only had, because like in previous years, I would go out like every morning and I'd eat like 3 or 4 figs.
Fresh figs are great. I planted two new fig trees this year, and I separated some out. So next year we're going to have a fig bounty.
Yeah, I don't know what to do because I don't want all these branches on my stinking tree next year. There's just way too many. So I'm gonna have to prune. Do
you get a frost at all there? No.
No. When is the time of figs? 4:30. The time of figs is September, October. That's when they come in here. I don't know where they come in different places, but here it's always late August through October. That fig tree is just booming with figs every day. There's ripe figs on there, and this year it's like, meh.
I would say leave it alone this year. Don't mess with it. Let it recover, and then after you get your figs next year, then you prune it.
Okay.
Right?
It's all right, because you know what? I'm on a carnivore diet right now, so it's like I shouldn't be out there eating figs anyways. They're just so good. Dude, yeah, just like, like when they start getting soft and you just plug them.
Yeah.
And then they're just like...
Yeah, they're delicious. Fresh figs are delicious.
So good. I'm drooling now.
You should get some chickens. You should get some chickens, pin them in around the figs, and then next year you eat the chickens. Someone found that funny.
It's in my front yard, so I don't think I can pen up chickens in my front yard.
Really? Oh, that's right. You live in California.
That's right. Apparently, like some newspaper said that this is the most expensive city in the country now. Great.
More so than Honolulu?
Figs are the best. I don't know what kind of figs mine are. They're big and they're purple. So I don't know.
Might be an Elmira fig, maybe. Probably purple. Probably not a mission fig. Maybe.
I don't know, but seriously, some of these will get up to like 3 inches wide.
Wow, that is a substantial fig.
Huge figs. Well, maybe 2.5.
Yeah, but I would say imagine that this year is what is it, Shemitah, and you just let the fig tree rest.
All right, fine. Eat more steak before they totally ban it. Yeah, we're gonna have Korean short ribs for dinner tonight.
Nice.
But, Edwin, tell me what you think of this.
Okay.
This is God Squad.
Okay.
I don't know how much you followed the coming Mahdi and the Greek number 666, looking an awful lot like Bismillah, which means in the name of Allah.
Interesting. Yeah, it is hard to imagine in modern day with modern day sentiments toward Islam, it is hard to imagine what country a leader would emerge from that would be able to make peace. I mean, because there would have to be substantial changes in attitude and changes in latitude, just because, I mean, the Islamic world is so factionalized, right? And so even
they
if
would
people,
have to accept that he's the Mahdi.
yeah. So he would have to almost have to do something verging on the supernatural before he did something supernatural. I'm not sure.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not
sure. Do Muslims interpret the Mahdi kind of like the rabbinical Jews or the Talmudic Jews interpret the Messiah as like a military leader?
Oh, that's a good question. I wish Jacob was here. Jacob does deep dives into this stuff.
Right.
And here, let me ping him, see if he's. Wait, I don't know if this is going to share my screen. Maybe I shouldn't do it. Yeah. But I do know it. I mean, the Mahdi will unite the Sunni and the Shia and the cultural Muslims, and they'll all just agree to start chopping off Jewish heads.
Like when people say, how come the Egyptians or the Jordanians don't accept the Palestinians? Well, their political factions are different, and they're bitterly opposed to each other, and so that kind of takes precedence over any ethnic, cultural, or religious affiliation they might have. They're bitterly divided by politics too.
Yeah. But
and so
still, they should.
People that say that stuff.
Also, they want Palestine to be a trigger.
Yes. And I believe that was, not to diverge from the matter at hand.
God Squad, we can go wherever we want. I'm not on a track.
But I certainly believe that the leader of Hamas was perfectly willing to martyr just about every man, woman, and child
completely
in Palestine to kick off a broader regional war. And Erdogan today said he's considering intervening with the Turkish military. So I don't know what to make of that. On behalf of the Palestinians.
Don't buy green bananas, bro.
Yeah, that is a large nation, though. And Turkey actually has a modern military, a modern navy, and a modern Air Force.
Erdogan's what is his history? Is he from Turkey? Like
he is about 30 years ago. He was thrown into prison because the political party he was kind of accused of religious or Islamic extremism a little bit. And
okay,
so
another question.
Yeah.
Is Turkey is it historically part of Syria?
That's a good question. Maybe if you go back far enough, it was part of Assyria, Syria, the Assyrian Empire. If you go back far enough, if you go back to Grecian terms, a lot of the western coast of Turkey was Hellenistic. It was Greek colonies all along the coast. And so it's changed hands so many times over the past 2,000 years.
So my question is, because one of the names of the Antichrist is the Assyrian.
Interesting. And the Turkic people are not necessarily Arabic people. They're different people. These people are not fungible. You're probably with your ethno mixture, you're probably closer to a Turkic person than right with your golden horde descent. I don't know which of the Genghises or the Kublas.
I'm a little mongoloid there.
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to get to?
I might even say you're a big Mongol.
I mean,
I was trying not to make a short joke.
yeah.
Though it was there. It was there.
I mean,
it was almost like a ripe fig ready to pick from the tree.
Oh, boy. Mongol Mike.
Mongol Mike. Oh, have you seen like pictures of Mongolians? Oh, those dudes are jacked. Some of the actual Mongolian people, like, I mean, just like, whoa.
Well, you know, it's crazy. Mongolians, like on the plains of Mongolia, they live exactly the same way Marco Polo described them.
Yeah.
1200 AD.
I guess living out in a yurt on the steppe lands and drinking nothing but fermented horse milk will put some muscle on you.
Yeah. There was this show where Ewan McGregor and his best friend, they got these BMW motorcycles and they drove around the world on these motorcycles. And part of it was going through Siberia and Mongolia. And they came across Mongols, like nomadic Mongols, who like you look at everything, dude. It's like exactly the way Marco Polo described them.
Wow.
1200 AD. I'm like, holy cow, these guys are cavemen. It's crazy.
Well, they built the Great Wall of China for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't to keep out the Koreans.
Yeah, they called the Great Wall of China the ramparts of Magog.
Interesting.
It was to keep the Magogians out. I hear the Mongols, though brutal, were nothing compared to the savagery of the ancient Assyrians, says Seven. Got anything to add to that?
Sure. Maybe. Yes. The Assyrians were pretty brutal back in the day. They had some brutal punishments. But you know what? Brutality is sort of the normal state of man's existence and not the exception, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Oh, let me grab the... Whew, those are spicy beef sticks.
And hey, Seven, good to see you. And Lovely. Lovely says, wow, ramparts of Magog. Didn't know that. Do you say Magog or do you say Magog?
I don't think it makes a difference. All right, hold on. Drop this link in here.
Seven, are you saying ancient Assyria was Amalek?
Let's see. Share Twitter.
Oh, and by the way, in the speech that Benjamin Netanyahu, why am I having trouble with his last name?
Netanyahu.
Benjamin Netanyahu just made.
This thing like have a net and a Yahoo.
And a Yahoo. Netanyahu. I feel like Ye did something with that.
Exactly.
Netanyahu. Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu. He referenced in his speech about the invasion of Amalek, or invasion of Gaza, he referenced Amalek. And in the story of Amalek, in the directive of Amalek, no one is to be spared. So I don't know what the sentiment is with inside the higher ranks.
I mean, it's kind of obviously grim, but this problem has to end. And I mean, I know biblically we all know it's not going to end because it's
sure it's not
the trigger, right?
And we know Israel will be there because the temple will be rebuilt. It has to be.
Yeah, and just realistically, you can't live next door to people who just want to kill you.
Right.
Right.
The counterpart to that, though, is I don't know. The only way that Israel can do that is that if the United States commits their full military might to shielding them from the pushback that will generate. Because whether or not these
real
current...
quick, Edwin. I'm sorry
Sure.
to interrupt, but hey, if you're watching over on Blacklist Universe, I just put the link up to the other channel where everybody else is, and if you want to fellowship and chit chat with the other chatters in the chat, then I just pinned that message, so I forgot to do that earlier. Jump on over. I know that Awful Redneck Gaming is over on the other channel, so do it.
Cool. Awful Redneck Gaming. Awesome. So what's going to happen? And in my initial analysis that I published, I said that Israel would have initial sympathy, but once things started dragging out, the reaction, because Gaza's so dense, civilians are going to be killed. Kids are going to be killed. And people have a limit to that. And even if every single leader of an Islamic country was 100% on board, the people beneath them are not. And so the amount of pressure on them from the more extremist factions and the factions that want just jihad against Israel will tear their countries apart at some point if they don't take some action.
Yeah, and I mean you can already see it like on social media, right? It's like and that's the thing, they're always pushing that, you know, Palestine under attack, or you know, Israeli Defense Force IDF attacking. You know, it's like it's now positioned that this isn't a reflexive defensive move. This is Israel is now the aggressor. And look, it's a reaction, and it's a reaction that has to be done. And I'm completely for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, which I know has a bad, it's not a bad connotation, but you have to get those people to help.
I would.
You cannot. This cannot continue. You cannot have.
I agree with that sentiment that it cannot continue, but pray on that some. There's got to be a better way to state that, because Christ doesn't want you to wish death on anybody.
I'm not talking about death. Ethnic cleansing is not genocide, and that's
okay. Okay, so usually when the term ethnic cleansing is mentioned,
ethnic cleansing is moving a people out of an area.
Right, but in practice,
genocide. But they are
in about 99% of practice, it has meant death in the last century. It has meant brutal death.
All right, I mean it in the sense that you need to move these people out. You freaking you blow up the border with Egypt and you push them into Egypt or whatever. You get boats and you send them to Turkey, or you put them on buses and send them to Iran. There's 49 Muslim Arab countries in the region they could go to
who don't want them.
They don't
under any circumstances.
Yeah.
not just because of the motivator for the touchstone for jihad and those things, but because of the political reasons, which I talked about, which nobody ever talks about. They ignore the fact that the Arab and the Islamic world is highly politicized and highly factionalized. If left to their own devices, they're happier killing each other than they are.
Yeah, which, you know, nobody complains about that. But look, Iran backs Hamas. Send them to Iran. There's enough room in Iran that you could completely rebuild Gaza brick for brick.
And well, there's been some weird stuff.
Give them 5 times as much land in Iran, and they could build them build them some suburbs.
Well, there's been some weird stuff happening. Ron Paul says that we helped establish Hamas as a alternative and to get the PLO out of power. And up until a couple of years ago, Netanyahu was saying that support of Hamas was part of their geopolitical strategy in the area. And that's not me saying that. I've actually seen that clip where he says that. So if you ride the tiger, don't fall off.
It's it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing, right? It's all, and it started way back with Arafat and trying to divide the quote unquote Palestinians, because I say it all the time. Istanbul was Constantinople. Look, this was Judea, right? This entire area was Judea. And then in 132 AD, the Romans decided to be pricks and rename it Palestine, which there were no Palestinian people. There were Arabs, Christians, Muslims, and whoever else living in that land space.
Right. But
and they just changed the name from Judea to Palestine.
All right. But right? I would tell you, my family has been on this land for 100 years. If someone tried to displace us, and this just in general sentiment, I'd probably be angry enough about that to, someone's throwing stuff in. Is that a Wild Eden sighting?
No, it's my wife.
Oh.
She's got a wig on for all.
Oh, I was going to say, that did not look like your wife's hair color. Yeah, so better or worse. And then the Balfour Proclamation.
Edwin, here's what they did. They came out, your family's been on that plot of land for all that time, but someone came in and they changed the name from North Carolina to Carolingian. I don't know. They changed the name to Carol Land, or they changed it to Berkshire World, whatever. They just changed the name. They didn't remove you from the land. There was some displacement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they didn't come in and just say everyone out. A lot of the quote unquote Palestinians left of their own accord because they didn't want to live in a Jewish dominated government.
Right.
Right. But it wasn't like, dude, they're still there in Gaza. Right. It's just, I have this perspective because I actually met a dude who lived there during that time. I met him in a coffee shop here. Everybody probably heard this story already, but I met him in a coffee shop here in San Diego, and he introduced himself as an Israeli. And I'm like, "Oh, you're Jewish." I just
like, no, I'm Israeli.
He's like, "No, I'm a Muslim." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm a Israeli Arab." And I'm like, it broke my brain.
Did it? Oh, you didn't know that there was other.
I know there's Arabs that live in Israel, right? But it's like you constantly have this, we're Israeli, and he was explaining to me, it's like, no, when they just renamed it, they renamed our country. Istanbul was Constantinople. Israel was Palestine. Then it became Israel. He became, instead of a Palestinian Arab, he became an Israeli Arab. There was no huge freaking let's get rid of all the Arabs. He's like, no, they just changed the name. A lot of Arabs, like hardcore Muslims, wanted to leave. Yasser Arafat came in and said, no, you're not Israeli Arabs. You're still Palestinians. And then they separated themselves to want to be a people group to maintain a name that really didn't matter. They're not Philistines. That's who the Romans renamed Judea after to poke sticks at the Israelis or Israelites. Right? They renamed it after the ancient enemy of the Jews. They renamed it the Philistines, the land of the Philistines, to be pricks.
Well, it's interesting though but genetically the Sephardic Jews and the people also known as the Palestinians are actually, they're interrelated. They're probably the same people, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all come from Abraham.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than that. The Edomites, which are, I think, modern day Iraq.
Maybe. But even they've had genetic
more
draft.
Closely related because they're the descendants of Esau. They're literally the cousins of.
There is, because of the diaspora and the intermarriage, if you point at people and say these are these same people that are talked about in the Bible, in some areas that may be true, but there's been so much intermarriage. There's been so much genetic drift. Look, because you can see Jews in some of the kibbutzes and some of the settlements, and they're whiter than I am and need sunscreen. So you're not going to tell me that David would show up and recognize him as like.
That's the funniest thing, because Jews started and they all looked like Middle Eastern, but because of the diaspora, it's like you've got Ashkenazi Jews, you've got Sephardic Jews, you've got Black Jews, you've got freaking Asian Jews. They went everywhere, and they intermingled with the local population over time. And when they came back, dude, Israel is probably as racially diverse as America now, but they're all Jews.
Yeah,
they are all still genetically descended. They've just got intermingled with local population.
Yeah,
my wife,
exactly.
My wife was white as day,
So I'm very careful when I try and say that this particular people is the same as the people mentioned in the Bible. Just because
they're descended from. You're not going to say they're not as narrowed.
In some cases, it may be more like cultural descent than direct. The actual genetic linkages
I don't think so.
May be a little bit
I
thin.
would doubt that highly. I don't think, because Jews are not a proselytizing people. If you're Jewish, 99.999% of the time, it's because your ancestors are Jewish.
Right, but there's been intermarriage for.
I know.
For 2,000 years.
Like still, the majority of the Jewish population stays related, right? And so you're still going to have that, and then they intermarry. That's been Judah. They were marrying outside of Judaism, especially for Orthodox Jews and stuff, is very frowned upon. And so it's like you have Jews that are like, anyways.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
We're getting in the weeds. We're getting in the weeds.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The for the Jews who stayed in Arabic countries, there was intermingling there too. they were intermingling with other like Ishmaelites and Edomites and Assyrians.
Let me say this as a reminder for everyone here that is a Christian and hopefully considering having a relationship with Jesus Christ. Let nothing we say here be a stumbling block to any of you. Some of this discussion is academic, but Christ said if you want to be saved, you have to make yourself as a child. And said it's about faith and not about some esoteric knowledge, not writing a PhD thesis on the matrilineal descent of the Edomites or the Khazarians or anybody you can imagine. These things are very interesting, but let not any of this be a stumbling block to anyone, please.
How would it be?
I'm just putting it out there, just in case. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Jay says Arabs are descendants of Ishmael.
Makes you wonder, how did the Arabs get into whale hunting? How did that happen? Call me Ishmael.
That was bad. That was really
yes.
All right. 7 says they're all related to some degree. The relevant point is that God made a promise directed at Abraham's seed. Ishmael and Esau are part of that seed, although Esau was hated before he was even born. And part of that promise was that the Edomites would serve Isaac's seed. So
Lovely has a comment. She says some believe King David had red hair. He is described as having ruddy cheeks and bright eyes. Lovely, I will tell you that Celtic DNA has been identified in areas near Israel, areas bordering in Israel. And so the tribe of the Keltoi used to extend all the way down south through the Iberian Peninsula and may have extended that way some too. So I don't know, but there you go.
But yes, David was described as ruddy, whether that is red hair or that just means he was in the sun a lot and got red.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ruddy means red, so. But Esau is also described as ruddy, and his descendants are, Arabs. His descendants were the Edomites, which like I said would be modern day Iraq, if they stayed in the same area. 7 says, but avoid foolish questions and genealogies,
yes,
contentions, and striving
exactly
about the law, for they are unprofitable and vain.
Which is why I put out that disclaimer earlier. Let none of this be a stumbling block to anyone. That's what 7. That was exactly the verse I was thinking about. Though.
Oh, really? Jay says, hated was not how we would interpret it today as far as what God was saying about Esau. It just means Jacob was favored over Esau by God. Yeah, sort of in the same way Jesus says, if you don't hate your mother and your father, you can't love God. It's like not hated in the sense that, I want you dead. It's just a comparison to the way you love God.
Yeah, I'm looking in 1 Samuel 17:41. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistines looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance.
Which means he was pretty, doesn't mean he had light skin. Fair countenance is how your face looks.
Could be. Yeah, certainly could be.
Yeah. I don't really want to do a word study right now, 7.
But yes, you've always got to be careful looking at the translation of words. And I bring this up sometimes when Christ asked Peter 3 times if he loves him, and you miss that little bit in English because English is very imprecise with love. Yeah.
Yeah, 8-1 imprecise. Yes. Very much so. So, right. Yeah.
Have I adequately derailed us?
I think so. Look, I was just talking about how Muslims follow the Antichrist, so I don't know.
Well, anything that rejects Christ is the spirit of the Antichrist.
Right. But very
little a Antichrist.
Yeah, the spirit of Antichrist is rejecting the Father and the Son, which is like the first.
Wait, is this numerology though? What? Because these are Greek letters, and then I see numerical values assigned to them.
Well, no, it's Chi.
The Greek letters.
Chi, Psi, Stigma, which is 600, 306. This is exactly.
Oh, and they're saying the Greek letters.
Here, this is from the Textus Receptus. So this is how it's written in the letter for letter copied. Can't remember which Vulgate it is, but.
All right, hang on. Let me do a search for the name of. Is that supposed to be Arabic down there?
The name of Allah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the 2 crossed swords, which is the symbol, which you'll see on a lot of different Muslim flags.
Right.
It's kind of like the Nazi symbol for the Muslims. And then the Allah is the center one, and the second one is Bism, which is so it's Bismillah, which means in the name of Allah.
I'm looking for the 3 symbols. I'm looking around. I'm having trouble finding anything with the 3 swords.
With the 2 swords.
With the 2 swords, rather. Let me see. Allah in Arabic. Just Allah in Arabic typically doesn't have crossed swords in the depictions I'm seeing.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like there, images for crossed swords on Muslim flags. It's kind of a thing. So I'm like saying it's like the crossed swords part is like the Nazi symbol for Islam.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But the Bism Allah, those are the two other letters.
Oh.
Like it's Bismillah. It's like putting, the word Nazi and then a swastika next to it.
Not to be confused with the Tism Allah.
Yes, exactly. That was my point.
The Tism.
Yeah, so if I look Bismillah
Meaning?
in images. How do you do it with just Bismillah?
That's a good question.
Because it's usually like inside of a bunch of other gobbledygook, which it's a lovely language. I mean, it's a very pretty
Arabic. For a time I learned to speak a little bit of Egyptian Arabic.
I wouldn't want to speak it, but I think it's like it looks like art.
Yeah, because I was in the Sinai. I told you I went to the Sinai Desert. Yeah, as I was deployed there.
This is the Bism right here.
That's the Bism.
Right,
that's a Tism.
This would be Bismillah. So Bismillah. This is that. So this part is sideways, but it's still. So if you tilt this one sideways, it's like Bismillah.
Bismillah.
Which means in the name of Allah.
Yeah.
Which is the sign. And then the word for mark is it's not dexios, that's right hand. The word for mark, well, it means badge of certitude. A badge of servitude.
Badge of servitude.
So if you wear the Bismillah on a badge on your right arm or your forehead. Oh wait, hold on. What do you call it?
Well, the mark would be taking and maybe we should pull up Revelation so we're not just paraphrasing. I can do that while you're looking.
All right. So you know how they wear it on their forehead? You've also seen them wear it as an armband. So it's like you take the mark of the beast, you wear a badge of fortitude. I keep saying fortitude. Badge of certitude. Servitude. You wear a badge of servitude on your right hand or on your forehead that takes the mark of the beast. If the mark of the beast is Bismillah, you're swearing allegiance to Allah, wearing his badge into war as you go kill. All right,
this is Revelation 13. How much of any do you want me to read?
You can read as much as you want, buddy.
All right, because I always like
right hand. Okay, Jay Hamilton, it's not the right hand. The word is dexios, which means right arm, right side.
All right, so this is King James Version. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him power, and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there were given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had to power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life up to the image of the beast, and the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. I will say, for you post-trib, pre-trib people, however you fall on that, hear this verse and just pray upon it. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm going to give you the scripture. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So that means, who are the saints, Mike?
Me and you.
Well, it's someone believing in Christ that's on the earth when the beast is on the earth.
Saints are simply believers. Saints can be Jews too. Yeah, but then they're Christian. They're messianic.
Christians.
7 says, that's an echo of what Nebuchadnezzar did in Daniel, setting up an image to worship at the penalty of death. Yes, which is also an echo of why when Revelation is saying everyone on earth, all on earth, it doesn't mean everybody on earth. It's the same thing as because in Daniel, it said that all on earth trembled at the feet of Nebuchadnezzar. Trust
Sure.
me, nobody in Alaska gave 2 rips about what Nebuchadnezzar was doing.
Had nothing to do with the price of seal meat, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like when people think like, oh, all the world will tremble at the feet of the Antichrist. No. I mean, everyone's going to know about what's going on, but this is what's the Bible is Judea, Israel centric. So the Bible is written from the perspective of the people in Judea, of the people in Israel. It is its immediately surroundings is referred to as all the world, right? And so the people, all the world surrounding Israel right now are Muslim nations. So when you're like, oh, all the world is going to go rise up and try to kill Israel, well, who do you think that is? Read the tea leaves. Sorry, that doesn't mean freaking Australia is going to rise up against Israel, right? It means Iran, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, freaking all the 49 Muslim majority countries surrounding that area. There's Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and this stan and that stan and everything.
Did you say Kyrgyzstan?
Please. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it will not be, I don't know, this Western centric interpretation of the Bible is so arrogant. to make us think that like we are the who's important and we are all who the Bible is talking about. It's all about Israel. It always has been, you know. Arlene asks, does that mirror the Old Testament when Moses went up to talk to God and the people built something to worship? I'm missing what she was talking about.
I think she's talking about the golden calf, perhaps.
Wait, we brought up the golden calf?
No, she says, does the making the image of the beast, right?
Oh,
And causing people to worship that, does that mirror when Moses was up on the mountain and the Israelites were like, "Hey, can you make us something? Can you make us something to worship? Moses has been going up there for a bit. We need to worship something."
yeah.
Jonathan Cassis.
I don't think because that image. Well, that's the weird thing about this whole concept is the image itself will speak, will have voice. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people in the modern day are saying that that's going to be AI. I'm like,
oh,
hello.
Oh, am I blowing out the mic? Runyard says, Edwin, you got a great voice, brother, but your level, I may have snuck up on the mic too much. Sorry. That I was reading scripture and I didn't blow it up enough. So I was probably hovering over the mic.
I can turn you down anyways.
Sorry, Rune Weird. Hopefully I didn't.
Hey, if you guys are watching over on Blacklist Universe, and it looks like 6 of you are, can you just click the link in the pinned chat and come on over to Unapologetic American with everybody else? And then like, subscribe, and share. Jonathan Cross asks, have you guys ever heard of the hexagram, the Star of David, Seal of Solomon broken down equaling 666? Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't buy it, though. And it's the Magin David is the shield of David.
Let me check my levels. I may actually have it turned up too high. Oh, yeah, it's maxed out. Sorry, gang.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, what are you trying to say? That Judaism is the mark? No, the Jews are the people of God. It's God has a different plan for them. Oh, no. But he's never broken his promise and plan for Israel has never changed. And
but the Star of David is actually a relatively new depiction.
It's, what is it? It's like 500 years old or something like that.
And so sometimes people equate it to the Star of Renfam or something. You remember the scripture about the Star of Renfam?
That sounds familiar. I don't remember what it is though.
Oh man, we're going down some.
That's all right. We can rabbit.
Some rabbit holes tonight.
Rabbit.
Let's see, is it Renfam or Renfan?
You know, I was reading something. As long as we're rabbiting,
mm-hmm.
I was reading First Chronicles 13 today. Hold on, was that right? And no, First Kings 13. And it was interesting to me. It's the story. This is totally non sequitur. But it's a story about the man of God who came out of Judah by the word of the Lord, right? And he went to King Jeroboam, and King Jeroboam, he was burning incense and stuff to not the way he was supposed to, right? He was not
strange smoke.
Yeah. And the king held his hand out to like stop the man of God. That's all they call him, the man of God. They don't name this prophet. They just call him a man of God. And he stretches out his hand and it withers. And then he asks the man of God to pray for him and then is restored. And it reminded me of Jesus healing the man with the withered hand. And then I don't know, it made me think about like when Jesus was on the road to Emmaus and he was telling these disciples how everything in the scripture is talking about him, right? From the end of the beginning, it's like it's all about Jesus. Yes. And then I'm reflecting back to this where this king, his hand is withered. And then he's going and he's asking the Pharisees whether it is right to heal a man on the Sabbath day. And they said no. And he's like, up yours. And he healed the guy with a withered hand. And I was like, that totally reflected me too. And then how when this man of God, he was doing everything God told him. He said, don't eat, don't drink, don't do anything until you're done with your mission here. And then he leaves. And then this other prophet, he's not even called a man of God. He's literally called a prophet. The prophet comes to him and tells him, oh, no, God an angel of the Lord came to me, told me to tell you that you can come and eat with me. And then because the man of God listened to a prophet telling him something rather than listening to what God told him directly, a lion comes and kills the dude. Doesn't eat him, just kills him, and then stands there waiting for his body to get cleaned up. Hey, could somebody go check the door? Oh, never mind. She's cleaning.
All right. Star of Remphan. Direct reference in Acts 7. You want some of this?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to back up a couple verses. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers who received the lively oracles to give unto us, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt, saying unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moses, which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And they made a calf in those days, and offered a sacrifice unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets, O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon.
Yeah, but does it describe the star of Remphan?
No, you don't get a description. But the star of your God. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. And there's not a lot of scholarly or academic knowledge of the star of Remphan. It's not really mentioned anywhere else.
Yeah, so that's extraordinarily speculative.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've researched the Magen David before. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, it's not as far as anyone knows, it doesn't go all the way back to David, but I'm not I don't remember. I think like 500 or 600 years ago was the first time it appeared. I could look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's really no depictions of it before a certain point associated with the Israelites or anything like that.
All right, it says the religious usage of the Star of David among the Jews began much earlier. There's a stone with a hexagram from the arch of the 3rd to 4th century Kirbit Shura synagogue in Galilee. The story of Solomon's seal was believed to be developed by medieval Arabic writers who claimed that Solomon's signet ring was engraved by God and was given to Solomon from heaven. It was claimed that this ring was made from brass and iron. The two parts were used to seal the written commands to good and evil spirits. However, some claim that the story of Solomon's seal was invented earlier than that, and that its inventors were Jews themselves at around the 3rd century in Egypt. So I'm wrong. It goes way back. I mean, it goes back to the 3rd century.
Just
I
like
thought it
you
was only like 500 or 600 years old, but
now there is traditions, there is esoteric traditions or sects or cults within Judaism that may have gone in strange places too. But thinking about you saying about may have been the Arabs. Suleiman, when you read about Suleiman in the Quran or any other place, that's Solomon, and he plays a role in the Quran too.
In what?
In the Quran, Solomon
Quran.
is in the Quran also.
Yeah, in Islam, the beast of the earth is believed to be in the possession of the signet ring of Solomon, and with it will destroy unbelievers' noses. So it becomes clear who is a believer and who is an unbeliever. You can read more on this here. I kind of want to.
I got a snaz, man. I don't.
All right, this is from a surat regarding Surat An-Namil. That the messenger of Allah said, a beast will emerge from the earth. With it shall be the ring of Suleiman and the staff of Moses, I guess. It will brighten the face of the believer and stamp the nose of the disbeliever with the ring, such that when people gather to eat, it will be said to this one, O believer, and to that one, O disbeliever. Interesting. Interesting. The more you know. But yeah, it goes back to here's the thing. The earliest that we know it goes back, because we have proof it goes back, is the 3rd century. So if it was already known as the Star of David back then you don't know how much further. It's just like, our earliest copies of the Torah, or any parts of the Torah, is like, I think it's the Silver Scroll or the Copper Scroll, which dates back to, I think, 700 BC, but it's clearly written before that. So it's like, you're not going to know for sure, but it dates back like almost 2,000 years, well, 1,800 years.
Jonathan Cassis has got I can answer some of this. Can I get my opinion? Much of the Talmud was written after the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and I consider much of the Talmud to be a rejection of Christ. And there's, particularly if you're a Gentile, if you sit down and read the Talmud, there's a lot in there that may make you upset or angry. The Talmud is a succession of rabbinical interpretations placed upon rabbinical interpretations, and essentially applications of applying the Torah and the oral Torah and the Jews' relationships to other people. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but it's also like pre-Christian era Talmud stuff. It gives you a good insight into what they actually believed before they started disbelieving stuff, like, that a virgin would give birth, right? That was the pre-Christ thing. And then after Christ, they're like, oh, no, that just says a young lady, young woman. Like,
yeah, but and this is something that a lot of people don't understand. The most of the Talmud, most of the existed Talmud today was actually written after Christ, not before, after.
They have the Babylonian Talmud, though, right?
There's different sections of the Talmud.
Yeah, but there are pre.
I have not read the portions of the Talmud were certainly written before, but once essentially referenced and studied today, most of it was written afterwards.
Gotcha. 7 says, doesn't matter, might as well be a pentagram, or it's a silly, irrelevant issue. Well, yeah, it's just, I don't understand people who try to say it's the mark of the beast. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like the Jews are not the Antichrist religion. I mean, in the sense that they reject Christ, they have the whatever spirit of Antichrist. But to me, they're still God's chosen people. Jesus says in, I don't remember which gospel, that they will be blind until the fulfillment of the Gentiles. So if God blinds the Jews, or at least a significant portion of them, I mean, that's between him and the Jews. And obviously it was sort of necessary to fulfill the longer term prophecies that are in the Bible. Okay, this gets back to the predestination versus choice thing.
You got to remember also 100% of the first Christians were Jews, and a substantial number of Jews.
I wouldn't say 100%, because I think some of the
close
Romans,
to 100%.
Yeah,
functionally 100%.
Yeah, very nearly
Most.
every early Christian was a Jew. Yeah.
Jonathan Consis says, "Can Jews receive salvation without accepting Christ?" No.
No, but here's the thing, Jonathan. If you read Ezekiel and you read, I can't remember which one it is, but all of the house of Israel, all the house of Israel is resurrected. I believe it's into the millennial reign, and they live through the millennial reign with Christ as their God. So that doesn't mean they're all saved at the end of the millennial reign, because a third of the people still reject Christ on earth, but all of the house of Israel is resurrected, which
when
hard to wrap your head around, but that's what Ezekiel says. Point blank.
What's hard for me to wrap my head around is that Christ is reigning on the Lord, reigning on the earth for a millennial, and Satan is locked up, is bound for 1,000 years, and then released for a brief time. And even with Christ reigning and ruling on earth, people are still deceived. That's hard
deceived. They're not deceived. They choose to reject, the same way the angels in heaven, a third of the angels. That's why I always say, and I hate to say it, but I always say it, you can't save a third of the people. A third of the angels, they weren't deceived. They knew who God was, and they still rebelled.
65% of the time, it works 100%
of the time.
And now we know where that expression came from.
Yeah. So I think if, and I read Ezekiel literally, so I believe that all of the house of Israel, every Jew is resurrected into the millennial reign, lives through the millennial reign, and at the end of the millennial reign, 1/3 of, I don't know if it's 1/3 of the Jews, but it's 1/3 of mankind, which includes the Jews, rejects Christ. Which, that's hard to wrap your head around, but the angels did it face to face with God. So clearly 1/3 of the people are just too rebellious to love and trust God.
Well, I can tell you with 99% certainty that 100% of us have imperfect knowledge right now. And in a time to come, we will understand better there. And I imagine we're all going to be in for a lot of surprises.
Well, and 7 is harping on the mark of the beast thing. He says it clearly says that people won't be able to buy or sell goods without the mark of the beast. Any speculation apart from that is ignorant paranoia and hysteria. Well, taking the badge of certitude means, I mean, if you're, I keep saying certitude. Taking the badge of servitude.
You're pretty certain about this, Mike.
Is claiming to be a Muslim. So basically, if you're not a Muslim, you won't be able to buy or sell in the vicinity it's talking about. And again, it does not mean the entire planet Earth. Everybody on Earth is not going to have it's not going to have to get a tattoo or an implanted chip or whatever you might interpret the mark of the beast as. But if you are not, people are going to know if you're a Muslim or not. If you're, maybe you have to say it when you meet people, Bismillah, in the name of Allah, whatever. But
here's what I'll say though, with regards to the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
You won't accidentally take it.
Right.
Because it is taking the mark of the beast will be a conscious rejection of Christ and God. So it's not something you can accidentally get or accidentally take, right? It'll be the choice that you're making will be, because God's not playing like some kind of let's make a deal, right? Mike chooses door number 3. Oh no, he got the mark of the beast. Too bad, Mike. You're consigned to hell. No, it's not gonna work like that. You won't accidentally take it, and I'm sure whatever we believe about it, we're all probably wrong to some degree, but when it happens, it will be very clear what it is and what you're doing by making that choice.
All right, let me see. I'm going to do a word study real quick.
All right. I am going to need to go in a second because it is dinner time at the Boyette homestead.
All right, yeah, we're going to karagma. Karagma is the word. And what?
Ay, karagma.
Oh, okay. Hold on, I got to kiss my wife.
Okay. Kiss the wife, lest she be wrathful. Yeah, better than Mike having to go live up on the rooftop. Kiss the wife, lest she be wrathful.
It says karagma, a scratch or etching or stamp, i.e. stamp, as a badge of servitude or sculpted figure, statue, graven mark. So, yeah,
that would seem to imply
kind of the key thing. If it's a badge or if it's some sort of a graven badge.
I think Seven's getting a jab in on you.
What? These days, it's most likely the mark of the beast, if revealed in our lifetime, will be a crypto NFT. People follow themselves to sign up for the get rich quick scheme. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Is Judaism being followed today a continuation of what is being taught by the Pharisees? Yes. I think it's a continuation of what's being taught by the Sadducees. Because when you listen, because modern day Judaism, I know they say that it's pharisaical, but in modern day Judaism, they don't believe in hell. They don't believe in resurrection. They don't believe all the stuff that is attributed to the Sadducees in the New Testament. That's the way modern day Judaism reads to me. I think the Pharisees are the ones that fell in line and became Christians.
Well, the Pharisees were running the temple, Mike. I'd have to go back and do it at the time. I know.
I'm saying now there's no temple, and I mean, just the way it's described, like the difference between the Pharisees and the Sadducees back then. The Sadducees resemble modern day Judaism.
I'd have to go back and do a study, but the people who rejected Christ, the religious leaders who rejected Christ, there is a close similarity. But I also wouldn't assume that it's a carbon copy just because of drift and because of there's not been a temple for 2,000 years.
Right, but no, I mean, even listen to Paul, because Paul was trying to convince Paul.
Well, Paul said he was a Pharisee's Pharisee.
Right, and that's why when he was talking to, was it Agrippa? And he was telling Agrippa, he's like, this is about, the resurrection and how, because I know you too are a Pharisee.
Paul was the one killing Christians. Killing Jews who converted.
Then he also made the case that because the Pharisees believed in the resurrection, they should believe in Christ.
Right, but earlier he made the case that we should kill these Christians as a Pharisee. So
boy, where's your mercy there? Have a little grace for Paul, would you?
Oh no, I have grace for Paul, but I think it indicates what the sentiment of the Pharisees were, even after the death of Christ, and they were the dominant.
But that's like it's like an atheist converting to Christianity and then knowing the arguments to convince the other atheists, right? That's what
we might have to table this one. I don't think it's a pithy topic.
All right, I need to get going too. So
yeah.
But for being here, it was a lot of fun. Please again do click the comment or the link chat. Get over to Unapologetic American. We're growing that channel. Blacklist must decrease. Unapologetic must increase. So thanks for being here, everybody. Edwin, say aloha.
Aloha, everyone, and God bless.
God bless.